let's move to women's basketball, which is not something I ever thought I'd be talking about on this podcast.
Okay.
Because, like, here's the thing. I'm not even a fan of regular basketball. Like, I don't really follow the NBA. I don't follow March Madness or college basketball or anything. So I thought it was pretty fucking strange that my podcast topic list included a women's basketball game. But this women's basketball game in particular was fucking hilarious. This is some of the funniest shit I've ever read. So unfortunately, there's no video of this. I wish to God there was video of it. The way I found out about this was I was hanging out with my family last night, and in the background, Jeopardy was on the TV. And there was a whole category about the college Stanford and their athletics department or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And one of the clues was in reference to the first ever intercollegiate women's basketball team.
Okay.
And in it, they were describing the events of like how that went down. And I heard a bit of information, and me and my dad were both like, whoa, what the fuck? That's not possible. There's no way.
What happened?
So back in 1996. No, wait, 1896. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, this is pre-1900. This is 1896. Stanford, gets ready for the first ever women's basketball game played between two different colleges. Which is notable not only because, like, they had just realized that women might possibly be able to play sports.
Yeah.
But also, they didn't even have a men's team. They didn't even have a regular basketball team.
shit.
So they're like, fuck it. But, you know, they want a women's team, so let's make the fucking women's team.
Mm-hmm.
So they played against, I think it was Cal. I think they called them Cal in this article. I found this article about it on Stanford's website. Just interesting that they would even put this up, to be honest. Yeah, this is pretty trash. I'll let all three of you answer. What do you think the final score was from that game? Keep in mind how high scoring basketball can be.
Yeah. I'm going to say
3-0.
I think it was 3-0? It's basketball. You think they hit one 3-pointer?
They didn't even have 3 corners. I'm going to say...
Joe, I didn't hear anything you just said.
I'm going to say my guess. I got this.
Okay.
All
right, Joe.
I'm going to go like...
I mean, at this point, someone answer. I don't know.
This is killing us.
I don't know what's happening. All right, Joe.
Like 175 to like 90, some ridiculous shit like that.
All right. Huge blowout, 175 to 90. All right, Joey, what do you think?
I'm going to go with 42 to 8.
42 to 8. Okay. The final score, this is an entire basketball game. The final score of the first ever intercollegiate women's basketball team, like, contest, 2-1.
No shit.
It was 2-1. 2 points to 1 point. I heard that and I was like, no, that's impossible. They must be saying it was like 3 games and it was best of 3.
Yeah, it was a series.
I thought it was like, okay, wait, they're playing it like we'll play, first to win 2 games wins, and it was, they went 1 for 1 and then the other team won. No. I looked it up. It was 1 game was played and the final score was 2 points to 1 point.
All right, so Nate was right.
There were a collective 3 points scored the whole game.
So wait,
do we know who got the bucket?
And 1 free throw?
I'm not sure. We do know who scored, though.
Let's go.
We do know who scored the fatal game winner. So I'm reading this from stanford.edu. There are 125 Stanford stories. This is number 32.
All right.
And this is basically, it aggregated a bunch of newspapers at the time that wrote about this, and they were describing it in detail. So there was a bunch of funny circumstances, so I decided to talk about it on the podcast. So they said, that September, the state's male electorate would weigh a proposal to give California women the vote, and it ends up losing, but then getting passed in 1911. They said, they end up setting up this game, and As it tips off, many of the 700 women spectators felt themselves witnesses to similar societal change. All 3 big San Francisco newspapers sent women writers and artists to cover the historic contest. So they all sent women reporters and artists specifically because men were banned from going. Men were not even allowed to witness this game.
That's very 1800s of them, though.
Yeah, I mean, that is the most 1896 ever. They're like, it's the women's league watched exclusively by women.
Yeah. You can't let men watch you get all hot and sweaty.
Yeah, no, that's way too fucking lewd for the time. It says, they all sent their female writers, for men were banned for modesty's sake. So you were right. It was because it would be immodest otherwise. Mm-hmm. Denied admission, men climbed the roof and peered in the windows. Women inside fended them off with sticks.
Oh my God.
So they were literally like beating dudes back from watching the fucking absolute like sexual energy happening at this women's basketball game. They had to literally take up arms and beat them off with sticks.
That's nuts.
All right. So they said the game invented by James Naismith only 4 years earlier quickly became so popular among women that a Smith College instructor adapted the rules for what were thought to be women's physical and psychological frailties.
Oh, no.
So they're like, damn, this new basketball sport seems pretty cool. Could someone who's super passionate about it please tweak the rules so that women can play?
That's crazy.
So one of the rules was the court was zoned into thirds. So it's split into 3 segments, and the players assigned to each segment aren't allowed to leave their segment.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's an offense, a defense, and like a mid-court player, and they've got a couple of them in those roles, and you're not allowed to go offside ever.
That's insane.
And
what the
also,
fuck? What is this game they're playing?
Your midfielders, I guess, aren't allowed to shoot. Only your offense is allowed to shoot.
That's nuts.
It says each half of the Armory court was zoned in thirds according to the so-called quote half-court rules that prevailed in the women's game, with few changes through the 1960s. 3 players were consigned to each zone. Each could possess the ball for 5 seconds and dribble it twice. Only the home players at the net could shoot.
Yeah.
At the
My
net,
bad, fam. I'm sneezy.
Oh, you're good. At the net, Berkeley's players, though said by reporters present to be taller and have better hair, were weak.
Have better hair is crazy.
Yeah, so all the women reporters are like, I've never heard of basketball before, but whoever's on offense surely is prettier and has better hair. Damn, what?
This is monumental for women, but these bitches on the other team are low-key ugly.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh my God, this is a feminist victory right here. Too bad, like, the other team is so fucking trash looking, though. God damn, bitch, do your hair. What the fuck?
That's so funny.
Your teammates let you leave the locker room like that?
Where's your husband?
Yeah, exactly, bro. You will never find a husband playing basketball like that. All I'm saying, if your jump shot is as ugly as you are, you're scoring 1 point this game. So they literally are like, yeah, and guess what? The other team's players are fucking ugly. Our players are hot. Unfortunately, our players can't shoot, though.
Yeah.
Says, quote, the girls they had depended upon to score for them missed the basket repeatedly.
Tough.
So they're like, yeah, you guys are on offense. You guys are the only ones on our team that are allowed to score. And they were just shooting like crazy, and it was all whiffs. They're like, all right, this is your chance. Do it. And just brick after brick after brick.
That's wild.
The game was tied at 1-1 when Stanford's Agnes Morley, number 0, executed, quote, a long, fine, straight throw clean from the shoulder for the win.
What a great description.
So she just hucks it from her shoulder and it goes in, and that was the game winner. That was the second point all game for her team that won them the game.
She's him.
Yeah, and then they actually do kind of say that. So it was Agnes Morley who scored the game winner, and they said Morley was a rancher's daughter from New Mexico who had already hunted bears, real ones, and once subdued a rowdy teenager at the rural school she briefly taught at. So she was kind of him, I guess.
They're like, she's athletic for sure.
They're like, I mean, listen, she fights bears and teenage men, so, you know, she can play basketball, right? And she had one good shot in her, and it was all that they needed.
Yeah. Straight from the shoulder.
Yes, yeah, it was not like a jump shot or anything. It was, she threw that shit like a ball, like she threw it like a pass. Like, that's tough. But it worked. She and her teammates returned to Palo Alto as heroes, met by cheering male crowds and a Stanford band serenade. For their 2-1 victory, they returned as heroes. I love that. Hell yeah. I mean, we're still not even really sure how the game works based off that performance, but, like, we're told that you won. Like, I guess the higher score is a good thing. We saw you guys were tied at 1-1, and we figured it was like cooperative and you guys were supposed to tie, but then you won and we're like, damn, that's wild.
Oh shit, that was the point?
Yeah. Oh, we were trying to score points. Oh, I thought it was like we were trying to, like, I thought it was like darts where we, like, you start at a high number and try to work down to 0.
Honestly, this whole time I thought we were practicing rebounds.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I thought this was a practice. I thought this was like joint practice, and we were just like, I don't know, we were getting the B team their minutes. I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
This is the A team, I guess. So they come back and everyone's like, oh my God, you did it, you won, that was great. And then the article goes on, but it was all too much too soon. In December 1899, which is 4 years later, Stanford put an end to women's intercollegiate team sports, according to the faculty, quote, for the good health of the students, and according to the Daily, for the unpleasant publicity accompanying the contests.
That's crazy.
So they said, yeah, okay, we've had 3 to 4 years of women's sports, and honestly, can't be good for their health, and it kind of makes everyone look bad, so let's stop. And then they stopped.
That's insane.
It's wild that they were like, bro, they won their first ever basketball game 2-1, and then within like 3 years, it's over. They're like, yeah, this has just been this is a failure, dog. Cut this. This isn't working.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, such reactions stemmed from anxiety over the changing times, wrote Stanford player and author Mariah Burton Nelson, which to me kind of sounds like Cope. Like, she was one of the players on the team that got canceled, and she was like, listen, it's just because, like, they were afraid of how good we were.
There's a little bit of copium, I must say.
Yeah, so she writes, it stemmed from anxiety over the changing times, and she wrote this in her book titled, The Stronger Women Get, the More Men Love Football.
That's a crazy title.
Yeah, she copes
harder. That's a top 5 crazy title.
Yeah, that's why I think it's Cope. She called it that, and in the book, quote, an actual fear that women's growing athleticism somehow threatened not only men and men's sports, but the very nature of things, men on top. So that's why I think she might be coping a little too hard about the league being canceled. Is because she goes, listen, it was just because they were afraid of our fucking athleticism. They were afraid, like, what that would do to society if it turned out that we were actually amazing athletes.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit of a reach.
Yeah, that's like, yo, it's funny because, like, I guess she just assumed, like, later in history, this will be looked back upon as like, oh, she owned them. She got them. But, like,
no,
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Women's sports exist now, and they have not taken over how this book seemed to assume that they would.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The title of the book is like, oh, as women get better, they're going to start loving football because women can't play it. And it's like, I mean, bro, just compare, like, the amount of viewers that, like, the NBA gets to the WNBA. It's not even close.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she tried. It was a wild speculation that just didn't happen to come true. But, like, you know, if shit went differently, we'd be like, oh my God, bro, she fucking nailed it. She's a genius.
Yeah, I mean, like, if she could have made a better argument, if she was like, you know,
men didn't like that women were getting like more athletic and shit, and it was restrictive, whatever. Like, okay, but saying that they were afraid that women would like take over sports is I think a bit of a reach.
Yeah, that's kind of That's a bit.
I would
wild.
say she's gone wrong there.
Yeah. Stanford also muted its support for other women's sports. The women's tennis team, for example, failed to get Block S varsity letters as their male counterparts did, but instead sweaters that said tennis. They're like, yo, can we get like varsity jackets that say Stanford's women's team tennis? And they went, no, we'll give you sweaters that just say tennis.
Tennis isn't a real fucking sport anyway.
That's true. That's actually super true though. Like, I don't know. I feel like women are more popular in tennis though, so I feel like that might be kind of an L.
Yeah, because women make that moaning sound when they hit the fucking racket.
That's true. Like,
dudes do it too.
That's true, but I think that's the point though, right? Is I can watch women's tennis, and if someone overhears it in my house, they go, "Oh, he's just watching lesbian porn. That's fine. Nothing weird there." But if I'm watching male tennis, they're like, "Is he watching gay porn in there? Yo, what the fuck?" I'm like, "No, it's just tennis," and they're like, "That's even gayer."
Yeah.
They're like, "Bro, turn that gay shit off. Watch two dudes fucking instead."
Yeah, that's arguably less gay.
It's so less gay. Dude, oh my god, I would rather watch gay porn than male tennis. But if I'm just watching women's tennis, it's not weird. I'm like, no, look, bro. It's lesbian porn. That's completely fine. And they're like, yeah, all right, makes sense. Fair enough.
No, it's 100% W take, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Men's tennis is gayer than gay porn.
It's gayer than gay sex. Two dudes fucking is less gay than male tennis. All right, so it says that. Oh, this is great. So they're like, all right, yeah, so the league is officially off. Even so, the basketball players sneaked across the bay to Berkeley and played a rematch in 1900.
That's so funny.
They said, fuck you, we don't need a league. We're in it for the love of the game. We're here to
This
ball.
is for the hustle, dog.
Whether there's a league or not, we're balling nonstop anyway. And they play again. And this time, dude, they fucking whooped ass. Do we want to guess what the final score was?
4-2.
So you're doubling the original score.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like 60 to like 7.
Nate, how about you? What's your guess?
5-2.
The final score was 7-0.
I keep getting right.
Somebody's taking some ass.
Yeah, bro. They fucking whooped them. The first game, that first shot they got, that was a fluke. It was a shutout the second game. They said, you
Never
guys
again.
scored one whole point the last time we played. That's not good enough. Our defense fucked up. Not this time.
They got the equivalent of the "they won't gain another yard, remember the Titans" speech.
Yes. Yeah, they said, listen, out of all women's college sports, points ever scored, 1/3 of them were on us.
That can't happen.
We can't be letting our defense be responsible for 33% of all points in the women's basketball league. Okay? We can't. We gotta clamp down. And then they did. They simply did.
Biggest I'm him performance.
Yeah, they were like, you know what? Fuck, you're right. They did score 1/3 of the league's points ever on us. We gotta do something about it. And then shut them out the next game. And then their offense learned how to shoot, kinda. Maybe a little. And they hit 7 this time instead of 2.
Yeah. They were like, Cindy, you got fucking 4 years to practice those layups, bitch. We need more than one.
Exactly. They're like, all right, Agnes, listen, you got to stop beating up teenagers and bears and work on your fucking shots, dude. You can't be shooting from the shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay? You clearly have the strength if you're throwing from the shoulder and it's working. So like,
I just came back like Dr. J.
Yeah. They're like, yo, why don't we just like teach you like how to jump shot? And then she did, and she was like, yo, I'm just hitting buckets out here. She's like, she's just pulling up.
Literally, though. They call her Hurricane Agnes.
That's fucking, yeah, that's true, dude. She just pulls up.
She hits them with the spin cycle. They just can't. Nobody can cope.
No one can keep up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny. There's one more quote in here that I thought was funny that I'd like to share with the rest of the class.
Okay.
All right, so that seems to be where they ended it, other than like, okay, yeah, but then when women's college basketball made a comeback, Stanford was like one of the best schools for it because, they were about it back in the day. Like they're clearly one of the early adopters. So like, they've won like a bunch of championships since when it like made a comeback or whatever. And they said the 1896 game stands as a monument to the players' progressivism, athletic skill, and pride. Athletic skill?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know.
I mean, they scored
3 points.
the winning team
Sounds
scored
right.
2 points. What was that, Joe?
All I said was, a total of 3 points.
Yeah.
Athleticism.
Both-
It checks out.
A whole basketball game was played. Both teams scored a cumulative 3 points, and we're saying this was a showcase of athletic skill. Monument to the athletic skill. That's a bit out there.
Yeah, I would call that outlandish.
Yeah. Like, I'll accept the other two. Like, that's fine. I'm sure it was progressive for the time. Because, they were like, how indecent of the men to watch women play basketball.
Yeah,
And now
that can't be.
They literally cannot get men to watch women's basketball, even if they do beat them with sticks. They'll beat you with sticks and be like, watch the WNBA. And you're like, no, please. So they say, it's always been so surprising that this first game took place on the West Coast when basketball itself started in the East. The colleges were so conscious on the health of the women that they didn't want to overtax them. But the West Coast upstarts had other ideas. Thanks to them, Stanford has a legitimate claim to being the first women's basketball power, and they still are. So they're like, yeah, basketball was invented in the East. But the West Coast were really the early adopters because the East Coast said, basketball is clearly too strenuous for women. They'll just be dropping dead on the court if we subject them to all this athletic demand.
That's what they said about the Olympics too.
Oh shit, really?
They were like, we can't let women run in the Olympics because like they're too dainty, and like what if they get hurt and like they get too winded? And it's like, that's one way to make sure nobody is ever capable of running 50 meters is never letting them run 50 meters.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's facts. So I thought that was funny because then it was like,
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
I was just thinking about it. I was like, there's no way. Like that came on the TV and me and my dad both looked at each other and we're like, 2-1? No, that's not right. That can't be. Like, it was a series, right? It had to be. It had to be 2 games to 1 game. And then I looked it up and found that article and I was like, no, deadass Stanford is like, yeah, this was kind of a dub for us. I was like, bro, if you have all these later championships for the women's league, like just have those be your dubs. Like, it sounds like in modern day, they're doing pretty good at basketball. Like, have those be the dub. Like, why are we talking about like, yeah, one time we were able to get a bunch of women together and they scored 3 points.
Yeah.
Like, that's not really a dub, is it? Like,
They really snapped.
yeah, I feel like any decent like middle school team could score 3. Right? Like, what's the lowest level of like basketball
Any
playable?
4-year-old team can score 3 fucking points.
Nah, I've seen that shit. I have seen games end like 1-0.
Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be some level where it's like, okay, at some point you're so young, it's just so uncoordinated that you can't shoot a ball through a hoop. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, high school level, like high school games can be high scoring. Like, they're certainly scoring more than 3.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this way. My 11-year-old brother plays basketball. Their team scores way more than fucking 3.
Yeah, their games are like 30-40 or something. Like, oh, okay, there was some scoring, I guess. They somehow find, like, they found a time to score. Like,
Yeah. Well, also, we don't know, like, imagine the rules going on. Like, what are the rules to prevent them from being too dainty? Like, do they have more breaks and shit?
that's true. That's true. I assume the game was probably shorter, but not like that short. I assume it's not like a 5-minute game.
No, it could not have made that much of a difference.
Yeah. Where I'm like, all right, listen, I'll give them that, but like, I mean, they said it was like modified rules to like when basketball was just invented. So like when basketball was invented, what were these scores like? It couldn't have been that, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, no chance.
Like you could watch a game and see at least 10 points between both teams. Like, so I thought that was pretty funny.
That is so fucking funny.